So Brooks and I are on the road this morning. We've got to make some deliveries and pick up some oil for the vacuum pump still. But first I got to turn the vacuum pump and I'm going to put it in RPM mode. And what that's going to do is it's going to turn the RPMs up and make it to where it heats the oil up. It doesn't really need all the oil in the reservoir, so it gets cold on the outside of the reservoir. So I want it to all get warm. So I'm going to swap this thing over, put it in RPM mode, turn the RPMs up. Then when I get back, I can change this oil. RPMs are turned up. We actually got a lot of sap. It's a few days worth just because work's gotten in the way. I got to figure out some way to deal with this whole work thing getting in the way of making maple syrup, because it's definitely a hassle. Just shut the pump off now. That thing is good and warm, so now I'll start draining the oil out and then get the new oil in. So there is a check valve on the line going out, so I don't have to worry about losing vacuum on the system. There, oil's changed, and it didn't even really drop the vacuum much because things are still kind of froze up. It's only like 32, 33 degrees here right now, so perfect time to change oil in the vacuum pump, and you don't even get your fingers cold doing it. Now, we'll put a load of sap on, and then come back, probably get the rest of it, get the tank clean. Before I dump this load of sap, I need to do these connections here. There's two of them that have been dripping sap, so I'm going to cut them the wire ties off, take them apart, put new pipe tape on there, put it back together, because even though it may only end up being a little bit of sap, losing sap when you don't have to because you're lazy and you don't fix the leak, that's a problem. But I got to get the wire ties and the tools so that I can get that thing put back together after I get it apart. All right, let's see if that's going to leak. All right, any drips? Nope, no drips. The tank in back of the house, so our Homewoods tank, is only saying it's like 50% full, which it should be a lot more than that, judging from the other tanks and where they're at. So I'm going to walk down, I'm going to pump it now, but I'm also going to check and see if I've got the sensor for the tank level aligned right. My hunch is this tank is overflowing, which that'll really piss me off a little bit, because that means that I just didn't take the time to set the sensor right, and we lost sap. So we'll find out together. In the middle of breakout right now, I can hear the slush coming down the lines. It's filling the top chamber a little bit, so it's just starting to open up, but it doesn't even really feel warm out. I mean, the sun's out, but it doesn't feel warm. I don't expect much out of today. It's not overflowing, but it's about 2 inches from the top. So let's see, I'm gonna pull it up right now and see where it says it is. It says it's at 54% right now, so I've got my sensor set wrong, so I'll fix that after I pump it. Today is going to be a bunch of little odds and ends because I don't have to bottle syrup this morning. I finished that up the other day. So finish up those little odds and ends, then be ready for tonight. But I gotta make a list. I'm gonna do it on my hand. So the home 2 line, that's this one right here that the squirrels got to, and then I gotta put a drain on the waste side of the head tank because right now it goes all over everything. So I'm just gonna put a drain down to the ground for when I'm up there cleaning that. I think the pump just ran out of gas. That's awesome. Nope, it's not on the gas. I don't know, maybe it wasn't level enough. There, that's swap. One more thing off the list. So to set this gauge, or to set this sensor, go to the app, and then I gotta measure. Well, not quite sure why it wasn't working right, because I think they're close. So distance to empty, I'm gonna put it at 20. It was at 22, but that shouldn't have made a difference. And distance to full, I'm gonna put to 0. Let's see if that makes a difference on how this thing works. So change that, save settings. So coming out of this tank, what I've got is it comes out with a 3-way valve, so I can go into the sugar house, or I can take it and swing it and then use it as the drain. But when it does, it just goes everywhere, and well, it goes all over the blower down there too. So I'm gonna take and run a 90 out, come down, and then drop it down against the sugar house so that then it just lands down there and it's not a big deal. So just some fittings and some pipe, and this will be pretty easy. That's in. Just a quick 90, a 90, drop it down. I put a little kick out on the bottom, but now I won't have water just going everywhere back here when I'm cleaning this thing. And I use warm water a lot, the water that comes off the preheater, so now I don't have to worry about getting burned by that either. So we'll win. Where I've got a couple extra minutes to breathe today, I'm going to adjust the shoes on the snowblower behind the tractor. So we've got, I don't know, they're calling like 8 to 12 coming in on Thursday, but I've got to work Friday. So hopefully Thursday night it'll be done. I'll get up early, get all my snow blowing done. I got to take care of one of the neighbors because he's on a cruise right now. But I'm nervous because we don't have a lot of frost in the ground. We've had some warm days, so I'm gonna put the shoes back down. I leave like an inch, but this takes a couple minutes. But if I do it now, then I don't have to do it at like 4 o'clock in the morning. That just gives it like an inch of clearance, maybe not quite enough. I can get my fingers under it. Just saves on snow blowing the gravel into the woods because, well, that's terrible, but snow blowing onto the lawn is worse, so it saves that too. Well, I've got a couple minutes this morning. I'm gonna check these sap ladders on the other side of the road and see how they're doing. The sap's not running great, but I want to see if there's enough air coming into them, all that stuff. So we'll check these real quick. Well, I'm gonna start with this one is all 3/16 pipe. That from starting all the way, well, it's all 3/16 ladders all the way down there. So I'm gonna check the pipe, and there's a little bit of sap in the bottom of that line that I don't really want to see. So we'll look. So it is lifting, but I don't like how much sap is in the bottom of the pipe. There's almost half a pipe worth of sap sitting here. So I'm just going to check it on the way down because I know I'm tight on slope coming in here. So I may have to pick it up down to the other end to get this to work. So this one's got a little bit of sap in the bottom. It fills in a little bit right at the ladder itself. Now let's check the pipes, see what they're doing. And they're all lifting good. Well, one of them is lifting better than the others, so I've got a hunch it needs a little bit of air. I've got a leak, and I'm not sure if it's the saddle or this plug at the end. But it's full of ice here and I can see it moving. There's a bunch of sap backing up. But the sap is climbing, so I'm gonna go back and get some tools and see if I can figure out what my problem is here. Because if it's, I don't know. I may pull that out and check and see if it's that, and then I'd be able to drive it back in. All right, I just came back and I got a whole bunch of tools here. And I'm gonna try this, but I'm gonna try tightening up this hose clamp first because, well, that's the easy button, so we'll see if that does it. One-handed's hard. I think that just did it. Yeah, there's no more leak there. Let's see if the sap's climbing. So that sap is, it's climbing, but definitely got a lot of sap in the pipe. I think I need a leaker in this one too. I think. I'm back at the main lift and it's not really moving anymore. So I definitely need to get a leaker in that. So before I do anything else, I'm gonna get that one taken care of because this one is definitely jumping. That one's jumping. I'm gonna go check at the tall lift right here next to it on the 3/16. My hunch is that one's popping up there too. So I don't think I have all the fittings I need. I think I need some adapters for the needle valve. Let's check and see what this one's doing. Yeah, that one's popping and there's not really any sap in that line, so that tells me that that one's working. So I definitely need some air. I just had to go meet a truck driver on the side of the road because the truck was coming with this tank, but they posted the roads the other day, so luckily it worked out. I just so happened to be pretty well driving by and he was sitting there, so that worked. But this is a beautiful tank. This is a 200 gallon tank. It's like 4x4, 200 gallons. The guy needed a tank for his woods. He's trying to get rid of some galvanized stuff. Luckily, we were able to hook him up with this tank, which is just about impossible to find a stainless round bottom right now this time of year. But liter evaporator really pulled through on this one, and this customer is going to be really happy with this tank. There, that's built. So now all I have to bring is this setup, the gasket, the main line drill, and then I actually got to bring a ladder down there. But I'm going to bring my small one because, well, it's a little walk and I don't want to lug the heavy one down there. Probably should have brought the big ladder because I am right at the top of this one and I'm not completely excited about where is that thing? There. I'm not completely excited about having this leaker all the way up in the air because I can't get to it from the ground, but it kind of is what it is as far as having it at the very end. So get the hole drilled, put the gasket in, and then the leaker. It's not really sucking a whole bunch of air right now because the system was liquid locked. So it'll start in a minute though, I think. That's why I like leader saddles though. They're that much easier. There, that sap is flowing just like it should now. It's amazing how when it can go up there because it's not locked up, how much sap actually goes up the line into the tank where it's supposed to be. Minimal backup of sap in the pipe here too, so that tells me that these are doing what they're supposed to. This one needed the leaker too to make it work. So sap ladders work. Sometimes you just got to trick them into making them working. So in today's edition of What's in a Sugar Maker's Lunchbox, well, in my case today, it's on the console. Bag of Doritos, Ritz crackers, the small package, not the big one, Cheetos, and Nutty Bars, as well as a high-test Pepsi to go along with it. Do all sugar makers eat like me when they're sugaring, or do some of you get like 5-course meals? Because this tends to be an everyday lunch for me. I'm at the Blake Road Woods right now, and this tank, I got an alert, well, probably an hour ago, saying that the tank was at 75% from Sap Spy. So right here, that's the sensor. It's just an ultrasonic, sends sound down, and waits for it to bounce back up. And it's pretty close. You can see the line right in the tank where how much sap we had, which right about 75%. So close to 200 gallons in here, a little bit more than that. I'm gonna burn a tank of fuel on the pump, just pumping this one tank out. So the sap coming in at our big woods has been running about 1.2%, which it's always low there anyways. But this is a load of sap. It's off our 2 best pieces of woods. So we'll see what this is. My hunch is 1.7, 2, something like that. 1.8, that's not terrible this time of year and for what we've been getting for sap everywhere else. So we'll take this one. So I got all this sap here now. Luke's going down back. He's gonna pump that tank and then wash that. But we've got a pile of sap today. I haven't added it all up yet, but we got a bunch. So the RO has been stepping on it all afternoon. Well, not all afternoon, but for a few hours. But it was up at one point and it was just barely trying to get into the overflow. The last little bit coming out of the truck, and I'm like, ah, but just made it. But stepped on it, I don't know, like at least 12 or 14% right now. But I'm gonna get this thing cranking, and then we're gonna make a lot of syrup tonight, I think. I did add a new gauge tonight. This is a temperature gauge that's going to tell me the temperature of the sap coming out of the preheater, so we'll know what that is. I've been guessing I'm somewhere around 150, 170 most of the time, but now we'll know all the time. We can just look at that rather than having to use the temperature gun. But get this thing going. Concentrate's going up to the head tank. Flue pan's full. Fire's lit. Mix some syrup. Just open the air valves. The top one's the overfire. There's a row of nozzles around the top of the arch that injects air in. And then the middle one is the door. The bottom one is the grates. That one stays on kind of all the time, and then that's really where I adjust what we're running for a temperature is just off the grates, but the other two stay wide open. I gotta get something. I'm a little thirsty, so I'm gonna go to the outdoor refrigerator and get something to keep me going. That'll work. Another good night in the sugar house tonight. We had like 2,000 gallons of sap to get through today. That was a few days worth of sap, but we made a pile of syrup because we filled the finisher. But on top of filling the finisher, we just about filled that barrel. That barrel is probably, it's a 15-gallon barrel. It's probably got 13 and a half, 14 gallons in it. So we made a pile of syrup tonight. For once, no real issues. Everything went good other than, well, as you can see, I'm covered in sap. I don't have a drain in yet here coming out of the head tank. So I need to cut a drain in here. I've got most of the pieces because the preheater would be full and I don't want that to be full of sap. So I broke the fitting here. Well, I opened the fitting here and I got sprayed. So I'm gonna put a connection in here so I can just drain that. But other than that, everything went flawlessly tonight. The RO ran great. We were pushing probably 12, 14% tonight. Enough that the hydrometer didn't work anymore because it was almost completely out. RO is finishing up the rinse right now. Did the soap wash on it. It looks like tomorrow may run a little bit. I've got to work, so we won't boil tomorrow, but then there's at least a week of cold coming, so it is what it is. It's probably more than a week of cold, so that give me time to get this syrup bottle, get caught up on some other things, get ready for Maine Maple Sunday weekend. That's coming up March 25th and 26th. So there's a lot to do. Things went good tonight. We made a lot of syrup. We had our way with a case of beer. So it's not a bad night in a sugar house. So. I just realized that after one of those last windstorms, I took the flag down and the flagpole out front and I never put it back up. And there's no reason why that shouldn't be up in the air, so I'll put it back up. Much better.